with that webcam. Oh, there we go. Now we actually see some Juanito. All right, let's get it on then for this best of 5. In the bottom left side of Oxide, we are looking at the main base of our Mexican Zerg player. We know he loves them roaches. Can he make magic happen? It is Cham.
And he is up against the, well, you could say the king of the region, really. The Red Terran player in the Northeast. He is SpeCial.
I guess out of all the other regions, the only player that has won each and every single season is Time, right? Like, I'm not making anything up. Yes, so Time has also won the previous 5 seasons. He actually got very close to losing Summer earlier this year, where he had a 4-3 victory over Jishi. But yeah, Time, the undisputed champ of China, and SpeCial, the undisputed champ of Latin America. Let's see if that's going to be a little different here in basically season 6, as we have summer, fall, winter in 2020, and now we have summer, fall, winter again in 2021.
Yeah. And, you know, SpeCial player that we get to talk to a good amount when we go to these tournaments, or, you know, when we were going to these tournaments anyway. He's somebody that practices a ton, known for having spent, you know, a huge amount of time in Korea playing and training and practicing with the best. And he displays a lot of that in his gameplay. You usually see a wide variety of builds. He's as far from a one-trick pony as I think any sort of player could be called. He knows how to mix it up. He's good at being aggressive when he needs to. He's good at being defensive when he needs to. And if he thinks he can be greedy against you and maybe not kill you early, he'll go super greedy. And that's one of the things that just makes his games in general so much fun to watch. You really have no idea what he's going to do because he's such an incredibly well-rounded player. And I find that he's the kind of guy that seems to emphasize mixing it up and not always being super predictable. So even if you're an underdog, it's not like, oh, I know this one cheese that's good against his favorite opener, because he'll use one of 11 different openers against you.
Yeah, I think that's all very fair. Juanito has always been a guy that's comfortable with bios, comfortable with mech, can ramp up the aggression if he thinks it's necessary, but is obviously very comfortable in the ultra late game too. I think this best of 5 SpeCial comes in with a lot of confidence. Even if he has had some other priorities in life, he always plays a lot of StarCraft 2, and he's like, even SpeCial on a bad day is just a good player. He rarely completely drops the ball where he looks unrecognizable. No, even a bad SpeCial is a very good SpeCial and is often good enough to win the Latin American region. So I think Cham knows that he's got his work cut out for him, and we'll see what he has in store for us. He is opening up with Link Speed, and he took the triangle base, but I'm still expecting him to play a lot of roaches. I know that he can play some Ling Bane Muda as well. He's not a bad Ling Bane Muda player. I think if he wants to beat Juanito today, it's really going to have to come off the back of a lot of roaches, and basically the way that Stefano got a map of Marine Lord.
Yeah, and it's definitely something to keep in mind. And it's not like if he doesn't take that respect towards Cham in this series that he can't still give up that map. I mean, that's been literally the story of our day, is the underdog players at least stealing a map, doing something that is kind of crazy, and being able to pick up those little points here and there. So whether Cham is able to carve out that opportunity, pretty much everybody else behind has been able to do it. But these Hellions are going to make their way straight into the natural. There's not a ton of Lings to defend against this. The drones are already being pulled away, though. And that's still going to be a decent amount of money time missed. Queen's going to block the ramp just in the nick of time. So Cham saving himself a bit there. Only 2 drones killed. Well, this third one at this base, maybe you'll get the spore. I don't know. I guess he could try to burst that down. But instead, he's going to pick off some of the larva at this hatchery, recognizing that it was injected. Hellions, they can kill larvae, man. That's a really painful thing to do to a Zerg, too.
It's actually sad that he canceled that Spore Crawler, because he's going to need Spore Crawlers anyway to deal with the Cloak Banshee. Armory already going down by Juanito. So he may indeed very well bust out some Macarino here. Man, I can't believe that Queen was thick enough to actually keep those Hellions out. I really thought there was enough room for these Hellions to squeeze by. And if they would have made it into the main base, it would have been bad for Cham, because then all the Queens have a hard time catching up with those speedy Hellions. He would have lost a buttload of drones.
Yes, he would. Well, there's that Banshee that you were talking about, and tragically, that canceled Spore Crawler is now in production again. But when you look at the way that this is set up, the timing of this armory, particularly being before a 3rd command center, means that, I mean, is he going to move out with just all these Marines and Hellions, just do a big Hellbat push? And the Banshees are just going to be mostly distracting. You want to have them focused on the Banshees, not thinking about other things that you could be doing. But the Overlord on the right side for Cham sees the Marines moving out. So if he catches a whiff of this, you kind of start to get that vibe. You're like, oh, this is going to be a really big Hellbat attack. And I'm not entirely sure that there's a tremendous amount here. It's going to mostly just boil down to the Queen control, getting the transfuses, and making sure the Banshees don't find a soft spot in the detection.
Yep, I mean, nice actually that there is a Spore Crawler there. So the Spore Crawler is going to allow these Queens to do a lot of damage to the Banshees. One Banshee went down immediately. The other one is now out of range. This is still going to be annoying for Cham, but since he picked off one of the Banshees so quickly, I don't believe he should ever die here, because Hellbats are obviously a little bit slow. They have a hard time getting on top of units. I mean, make no mistake, this is a successful attack, but it could have been a lot worse if those Banshees were not in range of that safety spore.
Yes, definitely. And that's a really good thing to do, even though he had that spore canceled and took a couple of extra hits, recognizing that the attack would be coming to the front side, and having that Spore Crawler, next open space prevents the Banshees from being able to just pick off the Queens that are trying to rotate from the natural to the third. And he holds off nicely. And this is another great thing that SpeCial does, because, you said it earlier, Kev, with that armory and the cloak, he's like, oh, might be some macaroni. But that's exactly the kind of stuff that SpeCial loves to show in the early game, but then just not do. He's getting stim. We've got a bunch of barracks out. He's got the reactors going, the 1-1 for the infantry. And if you're Cham and you're thinking about mech at this point, that's exactly what's going to make that next attack by SpeCial when he's got stimmed bio that much more difficult to deal with.
Yep. I mean, I guess at least the Roaches are good against Widow Mines, and SpeCial has been building quite a few mines, and they're gonna have drilling claws as well, unless he cancelled that. No, it's already finished up then. That finishes up quickly, Nate. Yeah, I don't know if I am feeling this game for Cham, but we'll see. Maybe SpeCial takes a very bad fight against 1-1 Roaches. The problem is 1-1 is going to be done for the bio units before it's done for the Roaches, and if Roaches are down to upgrades, yeah, those fights ain't pretty.
No, they definitely will not be. Widow Mine drop did happen at that third base. Did not get a tremendous amount of damage. Did kill a Queen, but the Ling counter attack at the third. SpeCial maybe planting this command center down a little bit early. Those Lings did avoid his army earlier, but he was ready and waiting to catch this. That command center actually really needs to be lifted up. Okay, does save that. I'm watching him control the medevacs and asking myself how he looks back to save that in the nick of time. And he is, well, he's a very good player for a reason, and there is a reason why he is so heavily favored. But the Banshee still being here helps tremendously, because you just get a ton of infinite free damage against the Roaches and Lings that are following. As long as the bio can maintain and hold down this position, the Banshees can trim the fat, especially if those Ravagers get too close.
Yeah, that got a little bit hectic. Really good job by Cham getting so much value out of these Lings that are obviously not going to be that much of importance for him anymore, since he is heading into the Roaches and the Ravagers. So for him to find 11 SCVs and even stop the mining completely, do a lot of damage to the orbital, is quite nice. Now, is that enough? Is that what the Sweet Zerg Dreams are made of? In his supply block, that's a bit unfortunate. 6 Overlords, 7 Overlords on the way at once. I mean, he definitely could have had a few more units here, but it's still quite a few units, especially if you can take care of that Banshee. The Ravagers, no. I don't think we can ever make our way into that natural, Nick.
Absolutely not. And just look at how conservatively placed the tanks were, too. SpeCial knows that if he tries to come out here and fight for the space between the bases with his tanks, then it's very easy pickings for those Ravagers to bile them down. However, that third is still going to be under attack. It is somewhat covered by the high ground tank, but he's going to evacuate it anyway. Doesn't want to take that chance. But you're right. This is a lot of Marines, a lot of Marauders. The upgrades are looking good. He is getting the +2 attack at the right time. I mean, don't know if he realizes he doesn't have the armor one going, but having the attack upgrades is probably the more important thing when you're playing versus Roaches anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he would love +2 armor. Probably just forgot about it because things did get a bit dicey. Cham fires up a hive of 66 rounds. That's not something I necessarily expected, but he is gonna do it. Maybe just for 3-3 upgrades way down the line and Vipers. But the funny thing is, Nate, he never even started 2-2, and you think that is very important. Now he goes for Infestors. Maybe he wants to get Ultras, Aspire. Maybe he wants to get Broodlords. I don't know what Cham is doing.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is it's a good thing. Okay, yeah, he pulled the army back from the front. So, we can talk about upgrades all day, but those Roaches, they need the Carapace to be viable against the Terran bio. You actually do have to keep up with those. If you've got Marines with +2 versus +1 Carapace Roaches, they are gonna get obliterated. And he recognizes that, moving into some infestors, and maybe that can open up some opportunities. If he gets a sweet fungal, can land some biles across the army. He is going to try and catch a few of them. And well, SpeCial is also very good at splitting his units. And that's the mark of a high caliber Terran player.
Do you think he's gonna rush out Broodlords here, Nate? Like that has to be like the only reason he's getting higher than Spire, right?
There's definitely nothing else that he could do in this situation other than go to Broodlords, because it's not like he doesn't even have melee upgrades. He got +2 carapace on ground started, but what are you gonna do? Come out with like 0 and 2 Ultralisks and hope to kill this whole army? Not feeling it.
I mean, he does have a couple of infestors, so maybe with kindness plating and a fungal, who knows? But he's not going to clean up this army, man. He does have a lot of roaches on the other side of the map. He's going to try to counterattack. He's going to make his way successfully into the natural of Cornito. This is kind of cool, and he's going to kill quite a few SCVs. The problem is he's not going to clean up this army at home. So even if he kills 45 SCVs, this is still not a trade that you ever want to be on, unless he can get all 6 tanks, and SpeCial actually left absolutely no units protecting those tanks. He gets 4 out of 6. I mean, I guess that's the start, but we still need more on the side of Cham.
He cakes down the 4th base. The 3rd base is also forfeit here. So even though Cham had a nice push up into that natural, still just it's just tough to take trades with this type of army composition. Roach Ravager doesn't have the same efficiency as we have these supply numbers reaching, big meaty armies. And that's the difference between SpeCial and any other, random Terran player that you're going to be watching, or even some of the professional guys that we have. The production his macro is just on point. Even though his 3rd base gets blasted the whole game, he still has these huge armies. He has tons of units at home to defend, and he just has more stuff than you most of the time. And that's kind of crazy because, the whole point of roaches is that you can build a lot of them and get a ton of them out and kind of swarm. But again, after all of that harass, SpeCial finds himself with the one having the 3rd base that's actually mining.
The Liberator does get taken care of in the natural. Kill the Ravager, or 2, I believe, a Queen and a couple of drones. But yeah, there is no other way to spin it, guys. This is not looking pretty for Cham. He is a 2-base Zerg at this point. The 3rd hatch is about to finish up. We've got high, but we can't do anything with it because we've got no money. We've got a Spire, but we can't do anything with it. Now he starts +2 missile attacks. I mean, that's kind of random to me, since if he wanted that, Nate, couldn't we have gotten that before we spent money on a Spire and a Hive?
That's a very good question, Rotterdam, and I don't have anything to add other than I completely agree. If you're thinking about reasons why these types of strategies happen, maybe he just doesn't. He's like, okay, he can't afford it, obviously. He did have the Spire, but he never morphed the Greater Spire. So I guess he's thinking to himself that he just doesn't have the time. Because if he does stop building roaches at any point with the way that he's been getting attacked, he'll most likely be overwhelmed. So he wants to keep building them so he can do stuff like this big counter. I mean, there's actually nothing mining in that natural. There's 0 SCVs on those minerals that we were just seeing because he's been picking off so many of them. And there's a decent amount on the 3rd base, which funnily enough is the only base he's not attacking anymore. I don't know if he thinks SpeCial is on 2 bases, but if he had been able to squeeze out Broodlords, I mean, they're great. You'll get the tanks to shoot at the Marines. Even if he has mines, they'll be doing that. The range is amazing for zoning the bio out, and you're kind of forced the Terran to say, okay, maybe I need to get Vikings or some Thors or, any of the other long range things that obliterate Broodlords on the Terran side. You've got some choices there. But finally, the roaches are going to go to the 3rd, and this is where things get dicey because SpeCial, I mean, he's doing a great job bringing the pressure on here. He's doing his thing. He won't have a tremendous amount of economy at home, but look at that production. He just always has so many units.
Yep, I think SpeCial's totally fine, man. I think we are looking at the beginning of the end of this game. We do have a nice little fungal there and a couple of corrosive balls, so a few Marauders and a medevac do go down. SpeCial even starts up a Viking just in case there will be some Broodlords, but we know that's not going to be the case. I would believe that Cham has a chance in this game if he did have 1 or 2 Vipers, so we could abduct the tanks. I mean, good job there landing corrosive balls on the medevacs. This is obviously all very decent stuff, but it's just not going to be enough. GG. SpeCial takes the 1-0 lead in a pretty scrappy and hectic game, but I have to admit that I was never that worried for SpeCial. It felt like he was always in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think makes when you talk about it's like, wow, what's hard about playing the game? What do you have to focus on? For Terran, it's just keeping the production running. As long as you're pumping out those Marines and Marauders, they're going to beat roaches in even numbers most of the time. And he always had units to defend. He wasn't rallying across the map and getting caught. He took as much caution as he needed, but he was constantly being aggressive. And That's high level. That's high level Terran play. That's what Special brings to the table. He's going to constantly attack you, and no matter how many SCVs you think you're killing, it's never enough.
I think we need some Latin American colors in my room, Nate, because now it's nice and late at night, so there's no more daylight. What do you think? What do you think fits Latin?
Well, that is a terrible question to ask me, Rotterdam. I am not that cultured. Ooh, I like that though. Ooh.
No, it's too grim.
Make you look good. What is it? It's what, like 10 o'clock over there now? 11, close to 11 maybe?
Yeah, close to 11.
Yeah. It's 2 in the afternoon here, so no fancy lights. I'm just chilling on the beach. Sun is still up in the sky.
I mean, you still have that Vegas heat to work with. How is it? How warm is it? Like, are we talking 110?
Oh, it's getting cool. No, it's getting cool. We're finally in the livable part of the year for Vegas. It's 80 degrees outside right now with 5% humidity, so feels like it's 70. It's great.
Pleasant. Go for a nice little walk in the desert, mate.
Hey, I'm taking the dog to the park. Lewis and I are going to go running tomorrow now that it's finally not 100 degrees every day.
You've got a park in Vegas?
Yeah, man. Well, when it comes to the ego of having a city in the desert, you better believe people with money are still going to have parks.
I believe it. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of man who's absolutely not up 1-0. He is down 0-1, hailing from Mexico, spawning as the Blue Zergy. It is Cham. Sorry, observer. Sorry, mate.
And his opponent in the northwest, leading 1-0 to start things off with that low ground depot and barracks. He is SpeCial. I wonder if this is just like the Reaper meme build. I feel like the last person I saw do this was Kelzer type thing, or he could just want to have a very early command center and not worry about lings, but
yeah, I've seen him do this before. Who did he play them in the group stage? Now I have to alt tab because he actually did this. No, this was Kelazur actually, I think, doing this against Jim Rising. Or
I know Kelazur.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the last time that I saw a Terran build a barracks here, I think it was probably Kelazur. And usually you put the second or the third one there, and you're like, I'm going to do a Reaper opening that's a bit aggressive, but I can also expand since you can't attack me because they're I built my wall at the front of the natural. But maybe it's a fake out. Maybe he's hoping that the Overlord will come over, see that, and he'll be like, oh my God, there might be a second barracks in the main, and now I need to worry about Reapers. But
yeah. Now, SpeCial did do this against Jim Rising. He did it on Lightshade, and he also did it on Romanticide, and both times he spawned on the left side, which is obviously a bit uncomfortable, because that means that the Terran add-ons will pop on the right side, and they're going to be very exposed. Yeah, and I was guessing with Benny, and Benny was very confused about why SpeCial kept doing it. And these games were very scrappy as well, like definitely not as clean and convincing as you would expect it from the guy that has won this region, not once or twice, but no, the last 5 seasons in a row. And is obviously the overwhelming favorite for season 6 again.
Yeah, well, he's just so consistent. His gameplay so consistent in this region. And now the Reaper's gonna come up, start to do that standard poke. Almost. Cham's got the moves. What's up?
That is a very, very quick roach one.
Oh yeah, very quick. I mean, think about where the production is too. It's not uncommon for some people to build their add-ons in the middle of their natural wall if they do this.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if SpeCial doesn't scout this can definitely get a bit ugly. Cham has scouted with his Overlord. He knows about the weird wall off, or at least the low ground buildings of SpeCial. There we go, 4 roaches on the way. I do think that Cham is just going to build a couple and then probably transition and build more units, even though he's taking extra gases in his natural, but that was just an extractor trick. So 6 roaches at this point. Is he just going to hold it down forever, Nate? Is he just going to try to end it?
There's a decent possibility that, I mean, just the way that he's set up, like he can take out a huge part of the production, even if he just gets the reactor for the factory that's at the front of the base. And the starport's being built on the low ground. So if he loses the natural, that's everything. He doesn't have anything of his own in his actual main base.
And now there is a lair. So we open up with 7 roaches, and there is still a 3-minute and 30-second lair. This is very wild. And once more, SpeCial in a way is almost baiting this out. Maybe it's similar to the way that Strange in his PvPs likes to bait out. Wow, that was very close. Can both mines burrow? Yes, they can. Can both mines fire? Yes, they can. And that's actually really smart. The Hellions can finish off the roaches before they morph into Ravagers. Wow, I love that.
The
That's
kind of
actually
stuff you'll only see when someone tries to cheese special in LATAM. Like,
sick.
how often do we have a Terran defending a roach bush like this with a couple Widow Mines and Hellions? And it's again, the reactor was always going to be the easy target, super exposed, high value, high priority. But with the bunker and this many Hellions, yeah, he's like, yeah, okay, step out. I'll kill a Ling. I think if he's worried about anything, it would be maybe a Ling flood behind this if the Hellions were picked off. But that's not happening. It's straight to Spire. And he's going to use evolution chambers to block off the front, have those, as you said earlier, thick queens preventing a run by. And
Not all of them, just the one on Oxide. Okay.
just the one. Okay. My bad, Kev. I'll defer to you as the expert as far as the thickness goes.
What can I say? Some queens, it just feels like they've got a slightly bigger booty, you know? Nothing wrong with that.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
I mean,
Third
the quick
command center,
spire,
too.
the quick spire could come in handy, right? Because the follow-up is going to be Banshees. I'm sure that Cham is expecting the follow-up to be Banshees, because Banshees are very good against roaches. Clone Banshee shows up in the main base, could maybe pick off a drone or two here, especially the ones that are bouncing between these bases. Where is that spire? I mean, he's gonna see the lair, and I think that he's actually kind of surprised that there is already a lair. Hellions gonna try to lock one more time in the natural. Very important that Cham has his units on hold position. Now the Banshee's gonna help out, open the doors, but 2 out of 4 Hellions have already gone down, so this shouldn't be too bad, but at least Juanito gets a great scout up.
Yeah, seize that spire, and it's probably also worth pointing out. You know, when you're playing Terran versus Zerg, and you get hit with some sort of early attack like that, especially if it's not something that they're flooding behind or trying to kill you with. Just seeing that the third base isn't going yet is almost always saying, okay, it pretty much has to be Spire, because if they were going to Nidus you, they would have played a little bit more safe with the roaches, wouldn't have wanted to lose those, right? Or the roaches don't usually show up until you have that. But on 2 bases, trying to block that wall off, it's like, well, what can Zerg actually do in that situation? You pretty much just go Mutas to try to stop the Banshees or any further Hellions from coming over to your base.
Well, the Mutas are out of position once the double Banshee shows up, and this is just going to hurt. Cham is already down 12 workers. Now he's going to fall a few more workers behind. Will the Mutas have any potential on the other side of the map? The answer is no. Gotta say, this base is giving me an anxiety attack, man. Everything is going to get stuck. Look at this one Marine. This one Marine is going to be stuck forever. Never mind. He lifts everything. He's like, you know what? We'll turn this into a normal-looking base eventually. This is the emptiest main base I've ever seen on Lightshade, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, well, Mutalisk can't harass my main if there's nothing in my main. And Cham says, okay, well, I guess that's true, because there are turrets in the natural, so he's kind of covered there. He has everything he needs, and you know, if he goes deep enough to where that Raven is, you know, then you get hit by the Dorito cannon, and those missile turrets will one-shot you. So you got to be real careful running around with these guys. He doesn't have a tremendous amount of economy behind this, since that third base only just finished. And as you've pointed out, the Banshees have done a great job. And guess what? They're back.
They are back for more. Grab a couple of drones immediately. Make that 3. The queens are going to be good enough, though. A little bit sloppy here by SpeCial, flying them straight into the queens. And I guess the Mutas are going to be on the tail of these Banshees, too, so they do finally go down. But it doesn't make this game any better. The Zerg being down 7 workers is problematic. The Zerg going roaches against Stimmed Bio and being down 7 workers. Well, that's just a straight-up disaster.
Yeah, it's not going to get easier. You know, talk about the Dorito cannon on the Mutalisk, so you can use the anti-armor missile, rather, onto these roaches, and that is going to make the Marines absolutely melt them.
I'm closing my eyes. Let me know when it's over, okay? I gotta say, the double stim, though, right before combat shield is ready, could be something that's risky, but you're right. These roaches just disappeared like it was nothing, and even though these Marines didn't even have combat shield and he stimmed twice, it's still going to be good enough. Cham really doesn't have a whole lot left anymore. He does have 11 roaches on the way, and the Mutas are buying a little bit of time. But I look at the extra units that have now shown up in the center of the map. SpeCial's even going up to 4 bases already. It's just not pretty. There's no other way to put it.
No, absolutely not. I mean, one of the most absurd things about that spell, too, is it does put the roaches into negative armor since he didn't have the upgrades for that fight. So those Marines just did insane damage. Now gets on top of the drones in the third. I mean, you just right-click down the drones. You don't even have to worry about your Marines or the roaches, because he's got plenty more being made 8 at a time back at the barracks. And Send the medevacs back. There's not really enough mutas to chase them down and kill them. That's the state that this game has reached. Maybe he'll get one. He's really lucky a second somehow, but I am sure we'll be seeing the rest of the Marines coming over to help stop this. And Cham, he's just building roaches and Ravagers. He knows he doesn't have a whole lot of options left.
Exactly, I don't hate that. I don't think it's ever going to work, of course, but Cham now trying to turn this into a nice macro game is also never going to work. So you may as well try to get lucky one time and one time only with Ravages and Roaches. He will take care of one of the tanks. SpeCial realizes how all-in Cham is. He doesn't need that command center. He's going to cancel it. Also gives his Marines some extra room to get right on top of these Roaches. We even have a Marauder showing up. 22 SCVs did go down. But not well. I gotta say, Cham is actually doing quite all right here. There are still 2 more tanks though. Can he get those? He's gonna get one of them.
Yeah, they were just a little bit out of range, earlier. And you know, bringing the SCVs to fight could have maybe tried to repair 1 or 2 of them. But again, it boils down to he's still gonna have access to the mules despite losing those workers. And the 3rd hatchery, he's just now getting drones back onto it. So while he's being chased down, every Ravager that dies is just super, super painful. So he has to bring the Roaches to fight. And that gives SpeCial a little more room to fight there as he sits up 10 SCVs over Cham's 38 drones. And again, I'm going to say, I'll invoke the word and say we just had 5 fresh mules dropped on that natural expansion. That's a lot of cash money cash coming in. In fact, one of them not even mining, but he's going to push in. There's still a bunch of tanks here. There's still a bunch of Marines and Marauders, and SpeCial still on top. Takes game number 2 and goes up 2-0 against Cham.
Yeah, very convincingly as well. I still like the way that Cham decided to play that out. It's one of these scenarios where every decision he would have made was the wrong one. Attacking, probably not going to work. Macroing, definitely not going to work. Then you probably just go for the thing that probably is not going to work, but maybe there's an 0.1% chance. And at one point, I'm like, whoa, he's actually doing all right. The problem is that he didn't need to do all right. He needed to absolutely smash everything that SpeCial had there and then somehow have enough to continue smashing everything that comes out of those barracks and factories. And it was just a little bit too much to ask. I mean, he just fell too far behind. The early game hold, though, by Juanito, I've never seen that. Like, the 2 Widow Mines, they're getting a shot off on the Roaches. Then the Roaches, they can normally just morph into Ravages. There'll be 4 HP Ravages. But it was 2 mines into 2 Hellions, and then the 2 Hellions finished off the Roaches. That's really cool. That's something new, Nate. That's a unique defense I haven't seen yet before.
It's an interesting interaction because the factory was at the front of his base. The Widow Mine does enough damage to leave a Roach at roughly 10 health. So that if the Hellion attacks it even once, then it's got like 2 HP. So even though you turn into the Ravager, you have this powerful cocoon that has a lot of armor. You know, it's not an uncommon strategy, right? You use the tankiness of that egg and kind of bait them. But he just took so much damage that we actually got to see Hellions kill Ravager cocoons, which again, not something you're going to see a tremendous amount of at the pro level of StarCraft 2.
Nope. Game 3 is going to be played on the Romanticide between these 2 lovely individuals. Juanito taking a 2-0 lead. Cham definitely finding a little bit of success here and there, but so far it's kind of everything that we expected. Hopefully Cham can really surprise us and do something crazy. This is a map where we've seen Niduses and Lurkers be very successful. It's hard to get there as a Zerg, but maybe that's just the way to take this man down. The undisputed champion of the Latin American region, going for 6 out of 6, 2-0 up here in the upper bracket semifinal. It is SpeCial.
And his opponent in the Northwest, the Blue Zerg, giving it his all. He is Cham.
And just like against Jim Rising, he did it on Lightshed and Romanticide. SpeCial's gonna do it again. Depot on the low ground, or depot, and barracks on the low ground as well. Now, on this map, it's maybe a little bit harder to just make a couple of Roaches and run them to the other side of the map, because Romanticide is pretty damn big. Takes a little while for these slow units to reach their final destination. Let's see what Cham decides to do this time.
Yeah. Well, I guess if we talk about this map, there's definitely a lot of things that I think are going to work in SpeCial's favor, right? With Terran, you have the big drop space behind all the expansions. The 3rd base is a little bit easier to take, but that's usually not the issue for the Zerg players. They spreading out and connecting them and having that creep network set up generally makes it a little bit less tricky. So that just means that SpeCial gets a slightly easier 3rd for himself, a lot of avenues for drops and liberators and whatnot. So I'm still going to be probably on the same side with you there, Roddy. I'd like to see Cham throw out something. It's got to be aggressive. It has to be something that he's 100% ready to commit to. And I'm not sure that the room is there for a flexible option. It might need to be something that's very set in what it's meant to do. Because, well, we've just been watching SpeCial shows so far.
Yep. I mean, Oxide was technically not even the best start for Cham, but he did kind of turn it into a game. And maybe if we would have spent our resources at one point slightly different, so instead of the Hive and the Spy, we would have rushed the 2-2 upgrades as soon as one was done, maybe he would have found even more success. Now, of course, there's a good chance the game would have played out very different, because then maybe SpeCial would have protected those 6 tanks a bit better, but I do believe that Cham really has the skills to hold his own and turn this into one hell of a game. So far, it's just that he's playing from behind a couple minutes into the game. And yeah, if you're the underdog, the last scenario you ever want to find yourself in, where you go up against a guy that you know is probably a bit better than you, is a bit more well-rounded, and just takes a lead very early on. So he is going to switch it up, Nate. That's about as quick of a lair you're ever going to see in this matchup.
Yeah, and that's where I'm starting to get those vibes on the. I mean, the Nidus stuff is definitely still on the table. You have a huge main base, but maybe he wants to try and do something more muta focus. I don't know. I was still thinking about what you were saying earlier with regards to, and I think you're 100% right on this, by the way. But yeah, the Hive. You're getting an infestation pit that does nothing. The Hive is incredibly expensive, and that you didn't get a chance to use that or the Spire last game. So. That's kind of what I was saying at the start of this map. I'd love to see him pick something and just really commit to it. If it's going to be Roach Ravager, get those 2-2 upgrades.
This has to be Roach.
That could really do it. Yeah, it's going to line up that he can start. Well, he may not even go for Roach speed with this, but yeah, he should be able to just go straight to the Nidus network. And there it is. He didn't have the gas on the natural. So if you're going for a layer this fast on 2 gases, there's pretty much no chance it's going to be mutas.
Yep. And something that's a very big deal, we didn't really talk about it, is that SpeCial lost his Reaper. Now, when you go up against a Zerg on the Romantic side that gets a lair 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, you would love to get that little confirmation. He didn't. There is an Overlord that is sneaking towards the main base of SpeCial. At this point, SpeCial has no vision. The Hellions are going to give him the heads up, though, that there is a Nidus. And this could very well mean that SpeCial is going to be more than ready. He's obviously going to take care of the corners of his main. First, he would love to kill a couple of drones if he can. But the nice thing about this as well, Nate, is that this is buying you time. Nidus is going up, though, in the corner of SpeCial's main. And SpeCial feels that, oh, he's going to see it so late. I actually think that these units will show up in the main base. I am shocked that this Nidus was able to go up after scouting it so early.
Yeah, he did build the bunker in the main, so he was he at least seemed to anticipate that something could be awry. But yeah, he needs to be repairing. That's a lot of SCVs. I don't even know if you need all of them on the bunker like this. They can't all exactly fit around it, but he's going to try and stave him off. Send some to the Banshee, yeah. Get the Banshee repaired, bring the tank over. There we go. And these roaches still very clumped up. He can get a couple of big juicy shots onto them. There is, now with the cloak, he has that Banshee back. And he will kill the siege tank, though. I mean, the bunker's actually running kind of low. The repair priority has, I mean, the SCV control with this defense has been pretty lackluster. If I have to be critical or find something to be critical of, but he's still alive, and this is a build that's meant to be very committed. Case in point, he killed 19 SCVs. SpeCial's actually still ahead on workers.
Yep. It's not triple orbital, though. It is double orbital, so I guess that's one thing to be a little bit hopeful about. I was very surprised that SpeCial never decided to repair his Banshee, but he just said, all right, it's low on HP, I'm just going to keep it out. And Cham, despite the fact that this is 3 hatcheries against 2,